Now, Nigeria's Warri Refinery has resumed operations after years of inactivity with a current operating capacity of 60%. The 125,000 barrels per day refinery is producing critical products like kerosene, diesel, and naphtha. This development comes a month after the Port Harcourt refinery resumed operations as well. Now, President Bola Tinubu praised the achievement, saying that it strengthens Nigerians' hope in his administration, especially regarding the availability and reduction in the price of PMS. The Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, that's NUPENG, also commended the development, describing it as a significant milestone in the Nigerian oil and gas industry. Now, let's find out more on this, and we have joining us on the conversation, we have two very, very important gentlemen and special guests in our midst. First of all, we would like to introduce Victor Oji. He's the lead activist, Young Nigerian Rights Organization. And we also have Bedford Berefa, his spokesman, Ijo Youth Council Worldwide. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us at this time. Gentlemen, if you can hear me.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. All right, let me begin with Bedford. Now, Bedford, to begin with, local governments, are key in ensuring that industrial projects such as this benefits the broader community and not just the workforce. Now, can you tell us what role you think that local governments will play in ensuring that the benefits of the Warri Refinery's opening or reopening reaches the local population?
All right, thank you very much for having me. Good evening. Happy New Year once more. Very importantly, the Warri Refinery, the value chain around the functionality of the Warri Refinery after 20 years is laudable, and its impacts, it will directly affect, the community, the local government, as it were, directly, because the value chain cut across beyond the petroleum product, beyond the fuel availability of kerosene and diesel, the market woman, the woman selling gala on the street, the woman selling water on the street. There's that, robust economy that this functionality of the refinery present, particularly indirect employment opportunity, indirect business SMEs is to boom as a result of the functionality of this. So for me, the local government should key into it. The local government structures should strategically key into it by making available a certain empowerment for local women that are doing businesses in the smaller scale, at the smaller scale level. There should be some level of involvement by the population, particularly the local government structure, should ensure that there is that level of participation from the local community, because the local content will also very importantly express the fact of local involvement, as it were. But also my concern will now be that after 20 years of being moribund, the Warri Refinery coming upstream, it means that there must be some employment opportunities that locals can activate on, safety opportunity, safety employment opportunities, and even refining opportunities. In fact, the entire value chain that's around oil, crude oil, refinery, there is that great opportunity that is waiting to be harvested.
All right, now let's hear from Victor now. Victor, you've heard what Bedford has said. Now, the Niger Delta has actually long struggled with high unemployment, despite the region's significant contribution to Nigeria's oil wealth. Now, as someone who works, closely with the youth, the resumption of the Warri Refinery is also expected to create jobs within the region. How do you see this impacting the youth in the Niger Delta?
I have different views from my colleague, my comrades, because we all know that this oil and gas sector in Nigeria is being more of a cause. I'm talking about the oil and gas in the Niger Delta. It has been more of a cause to our people, because the benefactors of these NNPC, Warri, are not directly our people. And even when there is corporate social responsibility, it doesn't make any impact. They don't. The NNPC, they don't engage in impactful CSRO for the people that are directly impacted. Now, take note that sometimes you are saying that the local government, the local should key into the NNPC. When you and I know the truth that it's all about the elite. Okay, let us ask ourselves the question: why was NNPC abandoned? Was it not because of the cabals? Was it not because of vandalization, insecurity? What led to insecurity? Because of the youths were not benefiting. Look, let's talk about the social aspect of crime control. What led to the youth getting engaged into the Niger Delta militancy? If these populace, if the locals were carried along by this oil and gas sector, by the NNPC, if they were carried along, if they had good hospitals, good schools, good health, good social economic programs, they wouldn't have been involved in vandalization. If the NNPC and other oil and gas industries were involved in cleaning of these oil spillage, the people wouldn't have started agitating for their rights. So I have a different perspective because it's not going to, in fact, sometimes this oil and gas sector is like a cost to our people. Compare NNPC to Aramco of the Saudi Arabia. Name one impactful program or social infrastructure that the NNPC, prior to being dormant, prior to its dormancy, that they have invested in the Warri or in the Niger Delta or in Delta states. Point one thing, name one thing that the average Deltan is going to be benefiting from the Warri Refinery. Look, not until the government start addressing the audience, the right audience, the right demography with respect to benefiting from the oil and gas sector, I will not clap for the Nigerian federal government that they have fixed the NNPC. Let us talk about the job recruitment. There is no transparency. Let us talk about the hierarchy of the NNPC. You can't say that Deltans are the ones in control or leading the oil and gas sector with respect to the NNPC. There is no balanced representation of our people in the oil and gas sector, in the NNPC. Look at the Niger Delta Development Commission, the NDDC. What has it done for us? It has not done. It has done nothing. Rather, it has brought corrupt programs, abandoned projects, looting, fraud, scam. It has brought pains for our people. There is no impact. There is no impact of the NDDC. That is why President Tinubu is making effort to create. He made effort to create the Regional Development Commission to see if he can change the narrative. But then, how can he get it right when it's still the politicians that are going to take the front seat, whereas the professionals were expected to take the front seat? Not until the professionals start taking front seat with respect to our industries in Nigeria, we are not going to get it right.
Well, Victor, that's quite a passionate view, coming from you. Now, Bedford, you've heard, everything that Victor has said. I want to know if you still agree on some of the challenges that he has actually pointed out, and also if you feel that, there would be an economic impact, of the Warri refineries opening on, the local economy of the Niger Delta region.
Not until the NNPC, we guarantee our people again, that they are going to be investing in our healthcare.
This is for Bedford. Bedford, not you, Victor. Thank you. Victor will definitely come back to you. Go ahead, Bedford.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Bedford. Please go ahead.
I can hear you. All right, so first and foremost, we have to give kudos, to the federal government for the Tinubu-led administration and Mele Kyari for, after 20 years, yes, we know the issues of corruption. There's no country that has not experienced some level of corruption. Corruption is endemic. Even our father, the father of democracy, the pioneer democratic president of this country, was on channels the other day, and he was expressing his dissatisfaction, as it were. After that interview, he had a facility tour in the facility in Port Harcourt refinery facility. He saw for himself. Yes, he told us, he made expression of how, Shell said, no, they are unable to take over the refinery due to monumental social corruption. And if you look at the body language of this current federal government, it has shown commitment. We hope that the commitment stays, because the truth is that if we keep clamoring of no schools and no, those are factors that are there in the Niger Delta. And mind you, me, in the oil and gas value chain, there are professionalism, there are professional courses that you must take to be able to function, to be able to be employable in that sector. So my duty as a Joy Youth, beyond agitation, beyond crime placard, nobody has shot more than us. The issue of vandalism, is taken care of by Tantita. You can agree with me that vandalism is a thing of the past. It is controlled to a minimal, barest minimal, as it were. Now that the refinery has come upstream, we must take advantage of it. We must not sit and keep complaining and allow the opportunity slip to outsiders like it has always been. It has always been that the North come in, the West come in, while our people are left alone. Why? Because of employability. Now, my duty is to urge our youth, is to urge my people to be employable, to get required certificates, as it were, required certification. That is where the local government comes in. Give our people, our youth, steaming youth, to have those qualifications. Give them training, give them opportunities so that they can be able to be employed in that sector, in this oil and gas value chain. The value chain is enormous, I can tell you. How many of us, like I'll keep asking questions, how many of us have oil and gas companies, oil and gas maintenance companies? We don't have it and we want to be employed. It's not done. You must be qualified. You must have the required certification to be able to function in that direction. So my duty is, now that the refinery is coming upstream, we should be wise at this point in time to hold the bull by the horn, instead of complaining, we should go put our thinking cap, cluster ourselves into clusters, getting things done, getting oil and gas maintenance.
All right. Now, speaking of, speaking of wearing your thinking cap and getting things done, maintenance and all that, what about local entrepreneurs in Warri and also the surrounding communities? How can they seize opportunities arising from the refineries reopening, particularly in supply chain management, logistics, and other support services?
First and foremost, get registered. Registration, when people say, okay, I want to go into this as an entrepreneur, the first point of call is to get registered. And when you get registered, you have that requisite by the Local Content Act to hold the people responsible. If you have the qualifications that you are not getting that service, of course, like I said, the value chain, the indirect job opportunity, the woman selling pure water on the street does not need any form of registration to sell her pure water. The woman selling banga soup on the refinery road does not have any point of registration for people to come and buy banga soup. So there's that natural value chain will come into play. But to effectively work, to effectively benefit from the byproduct, from the from the naphtha, from the cracks of the crude oil, you need certain certificates.
Hello, Bedford.
Refuse, then we can now agitate now to say our people are qualified and we are being shortchanged. We have every legal right to now take to the streets, if possible, to now say that we have the qualification, yet our people are not employed. But for now, we cannot say that because we need to get things done. We need to get the right qualification. We need to register our companies, cluster ourselves, and get things done. The local entrepreneur, don't think business is for only the rich. No, it's not only for the rich. Business is also for the poor. I can tell you for free that some of the big names that we hear in business, they started very, very small. So our people must learn, at this point in time, desire to start the barest minimum, even if it's by only the waste product of the crude, to do mannequin, pedicure, and all those other products that come out of the byproducts. It is do something. There are over 2,000, there are over 200 commodities that can come out of this crude oil refinery. Browse, research, and look at a need. Carve a need for yourself and hammer on that. I bet you, we all can benefit. We all can make things happen. We should desist from the point of agitation to now put on thinking cap, to now say, let me be employable. Let me get the required certificate and see if I'll be denied job. If you are denied job, then we can keep advocating and even sue when necessary.
Okay. Now, over to you, Victor. Still talking about how, the youths and the people of the Niger Delta region can seize the opportunity rather than wait for it to be given to them. We know that there's an emerging interest in transforming the oil sector through innovation and sustainability practices. So what role do you think that young people, within the region should play in transforming the oil sector to ensure it benefits the entire region?
In Delta states, we have a lot of higher institutions. We have a lot of graduates with first degree. We have master's degree holders. We have PhD. We have a lot of unemployed youths in Delta state that are qualified. The question now is, the NNPC Warri, is it going to be merit-based, the employment process? Is it going to be transparent? What's the guarantee that when our people apply, that they are going to carry them along? The NNPC Warri, go and check the key players of the NNPC Warri. They are core northerners. Go and check the oil wells in Delta states. 80% of the oil wells in Delta state belongs to northerners, not Deltas. There's a lot of imbalance. The elites, we always take advantage. Ask yourself the question, why did NNPC went dormant in the first place? Was it not because of the cabals ensured that the Nigerian sector was not import dependent? That was why the NNPC was shut down. There was mismanagement, there was insecurity, there was vandalism. How do you prevent vandalism? Is it not to focus on the welfare of the youth? What role, what plan does the NNPC have with respect to CSR of our people? What plan does the NNPC have to make sure that it has impact? It is investing most of the profits back in Delta states, just like Aramco is doing in UAE. What plan does NNPC have to invest in our educational facilities, our health sector, our infrastructures, our social infrastructures? Unless there are guarantees on these aspects, that is only when I can clap and say, President Tinubu, the NNPC is making impact. Not until we achieve that, I will not clap to say NNPC Warri is to the benefit of the locals here in Delta State.
Are you saying that you don't believe that this reopening will lead to any improvements, especially when it comes to infrastructure, in healthcare, education, electricity, roads and the rest?
Of course. Look, it's good you compare yourself with other clients. That is why I'm using Aramco in UAE as an example. Despite the fact that we have a better crude oil than the UAE, because our crude oil is sweet crude oil. Our crude oil has a very low percentage of sulfur, meaning that it cannot knock engine, just like the UAE crude oil that is sulfuric, has high content of sulfur. The truth remains that not until, like I said, the government guarantees us that the NNPC will invest in educational sector. The NNPC will invest in upgrading our cities, our social infrastructures. They will invest in our health sector. They will invest in human capital development. They will invest in training, in skill acquisition of our people. Not until we have that guarantee, I will not clap that NNPC Warri is now active, because we know how Nigeria is. It is all about the elite. It's all about how the elite will benefit. The few elites, because we have more of poor people in Nigeria. Nigeria is a blessed country. Nigeria is a rich country, but the people are poor, despite we are blessed. Look at Delta State. Name one thing that this NNPC has assured Deltans that we are going to be benefiting from NNPC. On a very good day, you don't need to even apply for a job to benefit from NNPC as a Deltan. It is not a crime if every youth that just finished secondary school starts getting an alert of 100,000 naira every month from NNPC and graduates 200,000 naira every month, just because they are Deltans. Because Delta State is the powerhouse of Nigeria. Delta State contributes more than 60% of the crude oil that Nigeria exports. Delta State plays a major role. So why will the people of Delta State not benefit? Go to other clients, go to Europe, go to the United States of America. Their people benefit. Even Britain that doesn't have crude oil, there's a welfare scheme there. There's a welfare scheme there. Our people that travel there to work, their children don't even pay school fees. Is the NNPC going to guarantee us in Delta State that all public schools, fees, WAEC fees, JAMB fees will be taken care of by NNPC? Yeah. Will they guarantee us that our people will be funded in their higher institution?
Oh, okay.
We need to start looking at other areas.
Now, Bedford.
Not that you will go and apply, you will go and process. When you know Nigeria is corrupt, when you know Nigeria doesn't have a transparent system, there's no accountability. It's all about connection. It's all about recommendation. If you don't have recommendation in oil and gas sector, you will not be recognized. You will not be honored. You will not be given the platform or the privilege for you to benefit in whatever you apply for or you are trying to pursue.
All right, let's hear from Bedford now. Bedford, Victor has actually, asked so many questions. Do you feel you would want to, respond to some of these challenges and some of the questions?
All right, his questions, his concerns are legitimate. However, 20 years, Tinubu was not president of Nigeria. After 20 years, in less than 2 years of being president, he mandated that refineries must work in Nigeria. And now the refineries have come upstream, despite all the challenges of corruption, despite all the challenges of privatization and the elite's analysis that is given. Now we have Warri Refinery upstream. Gasoline, naphtha, which is soap-related matters, and kerosene, is functional, is on production, 60%. We should give kudos to the government and watch why we must watch and see how legitimate this functionality of the Warri Refinery is. But mind you, the NNPC does not have the responsibility to provide educational stability for Warri or for Delta States. There's a Delta State government. There are state governments that are receiving 13% derivation. Regularly, there are interventionist agencies saddled with the responsibility to build to bridge the gap of educational instability, health instability, health insecurity, to bridge those gaps. We must ask our government questions, state government in particular. The advent of the removal of fuel subsidy has made our governors richer than before. You see that our governors are swimming in monies. But what is the direct impact of that swimming in money in our local economy? The government, the state governors are chief security officers of the states. They are responsible for the economic activities of the states. The NNPC is a business entity. NNPL is a limited company that is saddled with the responsibility of profit making. And if you see, but to now say, like now, I can tell you for free, with the Warri Refinery, Port Harcourt Refinery, and the Dangote Refinery, research has shown that Nigeria needs about 123 million barrels for 2025. And knowing fully well that we have mortgaged, people have corruption have mortgaged our future. Mortgaged to other companies that are buying, that are doing development, taking loan and paying with crude. So there's that challenge already. How are we going to, how the NNPC is going to meet up? There is that challenge. So I wouldn't want us to dwell on NNPC is not doing this, NNPC is not doing that. For 20 years they have not been doing that. We have not killed anybody. Nobody has died. Now that the refinery is up and working, we should cluster ourselves. Delta youth should come together and see what advantage can we take. What kind of a competitive advantage do we have? We must ask ourselves the question. IYC, Joy Youth Council, one of our core mandates is self-determination, self-actualization. And that is where we are. Before we talk about resource control, how prepared are you? How certified are you? The Tinubu-led government has brought the refinery to work. What role should we play as youth leaders? What role should we play? The government, they are turning, in the oil and gas sector, there are regular certification programs that you must create. That you are a graduate does not mean that you are employable. It's another thing. So we must self-actualize ourselves. Why is it that these Hausa people, when the Hausa people are busy employing people, our politicians are busy selling our chances? We are aware of how our politicians sold our chances. That's why the NNPL, we don't have the job people represented. We don't have Niger Delta represented as much as we should be represented. Why they are busy employing their people, our people are busy pepper souping and big starting and looking at big pump-ups. Now is the time for us to have a rethink. Should we continue in this fair and be excluded from our own resources? We cannot be crying and not get prepared to take charge. Okay. My charge for our youth, my charge for my job people is take charge. This is the time to build yourself up and take charge. If you don't build yourself up, you can't take charge. Our fathers have failed us. Our political class has failed us. The buck lies on us to change the narrative. If you want to change the narrative, the first thing to do is to, that's why we have gone for a crusade. For me, I'm carrying out a crusade with my partner, Caro Edo. We are going around the entire Niger Delta state. We started from Warri. So that's a come. We cannot keep agitating, antagonizing the system. If you don't support the system, you cannot benefit from the system.
All right.
We cannot keep crying and we are not getting anything. Is anything happening? No. Rather, let's put on our thinking cap and see where we can come in as youth to say the laws that empowers us for first refusal. This we are employable. Let the laws take its course.
All right.
That is where we are.
Bedford.
If we do all of that, and
sorry to cut you short,
we
Bedford.
can now agitate and say let everything.
But we'll have to take a break now. When we come back, we'll definitely continue with this and also focus on the challenges that's facing the Niger Delta. Do stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, just before the break, we were speaking to two gentlemen on the benefits of the reopening of the Warri Refinery on the Niger Delta region. And we still have Bedford and Victor still with us in the studio. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. Now, just before the break, Bedford was saying quite a lot about, what the Warri Refinery has to offer. And something that Victor actually mentioned, had to do with security challenges, as regards, these refineries, talking about pipeline vandalism and also militant activities. These have actually historically been an issue in the Niger Delta. So still talking to you, Bedford, I know you did talk about how you and some other organization, have actually planned to go around to educate the youths and all that. But what steps can local authorities take to ensure that the refineries reopening does not lead to a resurgence of unrest or even sabotage within the region?
All right, thank you very much. You agree with me that the Niger Delta in recent history, in recent past, is the most peaceful region as long as Nigeria is. Niger Delta is most peaceful. Warri in particular, yes, there are sketches of things here and there, pickpockets here and there, but collectively, conclusively, you can agree with me that the Niger Delta is relatively peaceful, as it were. Now, we have learned our lessons. Do you know what it means to be bereaved of economic activities for over 20 years? You have the largest refinery infrastructure in Nigeria, and yet we are moribund. It was moribund for over the years. So we must learn. We have learned our lessons. That's why you see the Tantita security is also doing their bit, to curb vandalism. You can hardly hear issues of vandalism, particularly in the Niger Delta. In Warri, you can hardly hear some of those things again because the youth, there's that security architecture that is already drawn, that is taking care of that, as it were. Now, my challenge will now be the environmental. Did they conduct effective environmental impact assessment in a continuum social impact assessment, as it were? Because, of course, with the advent of this refinery, they are expected to be consistent gas flare, consistent heat, because the refinery work with heat to be able to separate separate the properties, as it were. So those are the factors that I want to ask. I want to urge the NNPC or the NNPC to consider and do a recurrent evaluation to ensure that the environmental security is adhered to, the environmental principles, laws are adhered to, and there should not be indiscriminate disposal of refining waste, as it were. There should be a recycling package, there should be a recycling logistics, as it were, to cover some of these environmental degradative possibilities. Those are the areas that we will continue to advocate in. And I believe the local government, the local security vigilantes, youth organizations, and all of that, the NNP, with the advent, with the functionality of the refinery, there should be that level of conference of youths. Because of course, youths are the mainstay, they are the major players in some of these activities that we just mentioned. So there should be some level of conversation bordering around social justice, bordering around environmental impacts, bordering around environmental security, and every other security put together. So youth bodies should be called for a consistent meeting, stakeholders engagement, recurrent stakeholders engagement, to ensure that, see, this is not to harm us, rather is to make us better, is to make life better. I see a situation where if effective analysis and evaluation is done, the possibility of Nigeria being the giant of Africa again is possible, and the Niger Delta being the industrial hub of Nigeria is possible.
All right, now let's come back to you, Victor. Now, beyond just employment opportunities for the youth, and for the people of the Niger Delta, should there be opportunities for local businesses, to partner with the refinery, or even for corporate social responsibility projects?
The fact remains that I've always said it. The government, the NNPC, should focus on the social dimension of crime control rather than the architecture. You are talking about Tantita. That is Tantita for itself. It's a business. It's a company of its own. What about the people? You're saying that 30% oil derivation, the state government should focus on education. Are you negligent or ignorant of the fact that we have the KAMA Act, the Company and Allied Matters Act, that mandates every company in Nigeria to engage in corporate social responsibility? It's mandatory under the CAC Act. We should know that, look, President Tinubu studied on free education. A lot of our current leaders today, they enjoyed free education from the government. They enjoyed these things. They enjoyed traveling abroad. The government funded their education abroad. So is it now a crime? Is it not asking for too much if NNPC should engage in free education for our people of Delta states? Of course, there is going to be positive impact. There is going to be boost in terms of buying and selling of the local goods, of the local market. But then I cannot guarantee you security. There is kidnapping going on currently. And that worry, with the Joe Youth PRO say that he doesn't have such information, do we come on live broadcast to deceive the world that there is security? What leads to kidnap? Is it not because of poor welfare? If the government, if the NNPC can engage in welfare of the youth, the crime rate is going to reduce. Rather than focusing on buying cars for the police, buying gun, grenade, bulletproof cars, let us focus on getting the right audience, the right demography. Because the truth is, yes, the NNPC might engage in CSR, but the question now is, does it get to the right audience? Does it get to the right people? The CBN has programs. The federal government has social investment programs. Year in, year out, there is billions of naira allocated for the youth welfare. But does it get to the right audience? Let us keep it real. Let us call a spade, so that the government will know where to be looking. We should not come here and sweet talk. We should not come here and make it look as if Warri is not a heaven. In the first place, what led to Warri Refinery? Was it not because of the VER? Was it not because of the youth? Because of the government failed to take care of the welfare of the youth? If the youth, as at that time, were getting monthly benefit from the government, they would not have engaged in pipeline vandalism. They would have engaged in crime, insecurity, or activities that will lead to insecurity. We should be here to hold the government accountable, to point to the direction where they should look.
Okay.
The NNPC is more controlled by the Northerners as against Deltans here in Delta State. Go and check the hierarchy. Is there accountability between the NNPC and the CBN? Have you not seen how many billions, trillions that the CBN accused the NNPC that they never credited them in the past? What led to the dethroning of Sanusi? Was it not because of he exposed that fact of the corrupt practice in NNPC?
All right. Now
it is unfortunate that in UK, in other climes, there is no time you see a youth coming to clap for the British government that they engage in infrastructural development, that they engage in construction of a company. Not even in US or Canada. It's unfortunate that youths are coming on air to clap for the federal government. It doesn't make sense. People are suffering, people are hungry.
All right, now
there's insecurity.
Let's come back. Let's come back.
What is the government going to do to feed people?
Let's come back to
make them
Bedford.
Not to engage in crime.
Now, Bedford, there have been doubts about the effectiveness, and even, Victor has actually talked about, how ineffective that the reopening of the refinery might be. Some of them have actually claimed that it is either a mirage or a political move as well. So can you share your thoughts and also your assessments on the political implications of this reopening on the people of Warri, Warri South and also the Niger Delta?
Thank you very much. Mr. Victor, I'm not praising the government. I'm just stating the obvious. That 20 years after this is done, yes, we have our fears. We are all aware of the Nigerian politics, the corrupt practices in our Nigerian system. But I have chosen to be patriotic. The Northerns dominating the NNPCL is part of our laxity. Our leaders have failed us, Niger Delta leaders. Be it Ijo, be it Urobo, be it Isoko, they have failed. When there are negotiations ongoing, they are busy pepper-souping and big starting. And I will not be ashamed to say that. I will not be afraid to say that. I am not clapping that the government has done. We have our fears. We have our fears of this refinery that is now upstream. Will it function? Those are our fears. Those are legitimate fears. The issue of corruption is no longer news, my brother. The issue of corruption in every strata, our politicians, the Niger Delta politicians, are the most corrupt. When it's time for politics, they will run to Abuja, give the Hausa men and Yoruba men money to get tickets. Is that how to play politics? How many Hausa people will come to meet us and say, I want to contest, and give me, without you, I cannot own the ticket. We have always, our politicians have played second fiddle role. That is the multiplier effect that we are experiencing. That is what we are experiencing. I'm saying as a youth, we should change the narrative. To change the narrative, forget about history. Forget about what our leaders did not do right. And focus on what can you do, what can we do as youths to change the narrative. My brother, they have rise in their ranks to occupy those positions. We cannot go and terminate the appointment. When an Ijaw man was upstream, we keep writing petitions and petitions. Ishakruma was there. We wrote petition and petition. We keep fighting ourselves. Why won't you think that the Northerners and the Westerners, they are laughing at us and making mockery of us? As youths, should we continue in that direction? We should come together and change the narrative. I keep saying that, my brother. We are friends, we are brothers. The future, determines what our children will become tomorrow. Our leaders have failed us. It is now our time. Should we fail our youth? Should we fail our people? We are not praise-singing or lip-singing the government. We are saying that let us hold the bull by the horn. Let us hold the bull by the horn. Countless of even Europe and job people that have gotten employment, they sold their chances. Let there be a mechanism in place to ensure all of these concerns. The issue of security, the insecurity in the north cannot be compared a bit to what is in the south. I have told you, we have pockets of insecurity here and there. There is no country that has achieved ultimate security. Even the US, they are still updating. The UK, they are still updating. We should stop looking at the negatives and be patriotic enough to look at possibilities. What can be done? How can we question the system? You cannot be aloof, and the Northerners are employing themselves, and you keep fighting and fighting and fighting, whereas we are not gaining employment. We cannot do the same thing, the same way, and expect different results. We have gone that route. It has not worked. We should come to the intellectual route and see what we can do, in participation to change the narrative. Is it possible to change the narrative? Yes. If all of us come together as one, as youth, under one umbrella, rigorous stakeholding engagements to look at the pros and cons, call major player in the industry to see where we can take advantage. We have our people in the oil and gas sector as well. Let us have that synergy to work to bet a better Warri. Is a better Niger Delta possible? Yes. We, the youth, will make it happen. Yes, we have failed promises of government. We are not, I'm not any promise that government makes. I'm not interested because I know that it's either is for politics or it's just a mirage. But however, we should not take any opportunities lightly. Every opportunity that avails itself, let us maximize those opportunities. And how can we maximize those opportunities? Is the security lies, for Delta to be peaceful, it lies within the youth. For Delta to be peaceful, for Delta to enjoy economic bloom, the box lies on the youth. We determines a peaceful dispensation. And I assure you, proposals, we're going to be sending proposals to ensure that let us participate. Engagement is much more better than being responsive. If we keep being responsive, we will not make any headway. Let us engage.
Okay, absolutely, Bedford. Now let's come back to you, Victor, just before we wrap up. Now, we know that earlier you talked about, what more the NNPC can do for the Niger Delta region, aside, just welfare. Now, we also know that the Niger Delta is, cited as one of the most polluted regions in the world due to oil spills and also gas flaring. So, speaking of solutions now, what measures should the NNPC take to ensure that this resumption of the Warri Refinery does not worsen, everything else, especially the environmental damage in the region?
The fact remains that, like I said, this crude oil is a cost to our region. The federal government is not interested in even cleaning up the regions of the Niger Delta that have been polluted. The hidden hands that have destroyed this country, that are enjoying crisis here, they are very happy that the Niger Delta region is polluted because the waste that is being collected from the Niger Delta region, they use it for nuclear plants abroad. So it serves for a purpose for these hidden hands, like the British government, the French government, the United States of America. They are not interested in our country, Nigeria. They are just they are okay with the way our system is. That's why you see that they always encourage and empower the elites. They don't care about our people. And I don't see any hope that the Niger Delta is going to be cleansed or is going to get better. The NNPC opening up, I don't see it as, I don't see anything good in terms of pollution, taking care of the pollution in the Niger Delta region, because the hidden hands that are in control of the Nigerian system, the hidden hands that are sabotaging all our industries, they are benefiting from this pollution in the Niger Delta region. So I don't see anything changing.
Okay. Well, with that, we'd actually have to wrap up the show. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us and also speaking to us on this. And we hope that the reopening of the Port Harcourt and also the Warri Refinery comes with, a lot of solutions and benefit to that particular region. We had Victor Orji, his lead activist, Young Nigerian Rights Organization, and also Bedford Berefa, spokesman, Ijaw Youth Council Worldwide. Thank you so much once again, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Mr. Victor, thank you so much. I love your your vigorosity.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
And with that, we've come to the end of the conversation. Thank you so much for staying tuned. I am Darshan Usman. Have a wonderful evening.